And here we are. Welcome back to the Richard Sophomore, where we never sit out. We your hosts, MD and CD. And today, yep, you got another one. You didn't ask for it, but guess what? It's coming. Running back fantasy draft today. If you haven't checked out our quarterback one, that's our last video that we posted. Make sure you guys check that one out. We actually love doing these. We do it a little bit differently than your standard fantasy draft. We do it by position. We sort it by conferences, and it's just a little head to head between me and CD. So if you haven't checked that one out already, make sure you check that one out. Uh, CD, what's going on, dude? You ready for this?
Nothing much. Excited to get back in. Last year, if you guys remember, all the way back, long, long time ago, our early subscribers will remember we did this same thing last year, and I struggled in running backs. I took a couple of flyers, had some injuries, did not work out for me. Matthew hit on all of his. But this year, it bounced back year. I get the first pick. I cannot wait for it, and I'm ready to get after it.
Okay. Let's be clear. He gets the first pick, right? Because I won last year and I get to select whether I want first or second pick. So CD, I've elected him to pick first, right? In the order of the conferences which you're picking, right? And it's gonna be a snake draft, right? So if you pick first for one conference, the next conference, you're picking second. So CD is gonna be picking first for the ACC, the Big 12, the Sun Belt, the American, and the CUSA. Okay. Everything else, I get the first pick. There's also four wild card spots as well. So the nine conferences plus the four wild cards. And the way that we score this at the end of the year is we take our top 10 scores. Yep. So it's kind of like best ball if you've ever played that format. Except it's way different. It's just by position. But this is an excuse for us to talk about a ton of different players, right? And I'm looking at my list of running backs. I mean, easily easily 200 names on this list right now in front of me that I've had to rank. But uh, we're only going to be probably talking about what 13 times 26 guys. We'll bring up some other names as well. But look, if you like this kind of content, make sure you like the video and subscribe. Hit that button. You know, we keep growing. Um, we love the support that we've been getting these last couple of weeks. Can't thank you guys enough. We love doing this. Make sure you guys are sticking around too because there's gonna be more of this. Our conference previews are coming out next month. It's gonna be awesome, right? So make sure you guys are here for the ride. Uh, you ready to go, CD?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, first up, you're gonna be picking in the ACC. So let's see what you got. And I can't wait till my guy's on the board right here, and I smoke you out of the water.
Well, with the first pick in the SEC, give me LeQuint Allen, Syracuse. I know you're clapping. I don't know why. Let me give you two words here. Jeff Nixon. Okay, we've already talked about Syracuse this offseason. Fran Brown. We've talked about the defense. We've talked about Elijah Robinson. We've talked about the recruiting. But on that offense side, Jeff Nixon is a guy that has a ton of experience, right? And also, by the way, look at who he's worked with as a running backs coach. He's currently a running backs coach, was for the New York Giants, Saquon Barkley. Before that in Carolina with, I don't know, Christian McCaffrey, Chuba Hubbard's best years. He convinced people that Mike Davis was an RB1 in the NFL. He is incredible. And by the way, LeQuint Allen is gonna go on a tear this year. He had a monster year just a year ago as well. He's putting on weight to continue to bulk and to be a workhorse for this offense, which Kyle McCord, new pieces coming in. And I kind of like their O line a little bit more than I have in the past, a little bit more. And he still had a ton of production with that. I know you're probably thinking somebody else, Matthew, but I think LeQuint Allen kind of going out limb here. I feel good about him.
No, I like your reasoning. I'm gonna say for my list, you could have gotten him in the wild card spot, right? But I don't blame you. Like, if you have a guy, you need to go get him, right? Like when this drafts, because like it's not about taking the consensus best guy, right? It's about taking like your guys. That's why I like doing this format when it's just us two, because it's like every pick matters, right? So you have to take the guys that you trust, not just the guys that are chalk, right? So our lists are probably gonna be very different for this because there's so many running backs out there. There are so many running
Yeah.
backs out there. Um, this leads me to an interesting decision with the second pick in this draft. I'll be picking from the ACC as well. Um, I have a couple guys in my mind, and you know, oh, I think I'm gonna do it. He's unbelievable, man. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take Jay Knott from California. That's what I'm gonna do. That's probably gonna shock you a little bit, but here's the thing. He's an unbelievable athlete, right? On special teams, running the football. Dude, they relied on him a ton. And he was young, and he's back, and he is going to be even better. And the thing is, like, sure, I'm sure there's, you know, people in the comments or watching this video that are like, oh, why didn't you guys take this person? Guys, I'm looking at the ACC is tied for like, for me, the most draftable running backs of any conference. I mean, I'm looking at like 8 guys that I would have been comfortable taking in this spot. Um, and that's not an exaggeration. That's not an exaggeration. Like,
Hmm.
believe me, like, there's a good chance that Jaden Knott or LaQuint Allen, neither of them will be the RB1 in the ACC. Um, come December. So, look, I'm just gonna. Jaden Knott was my guy going into this. He's my number one. So I'm just gonna trust myself, and I'm gonna ride with that. But I will say in the wild card round, you could probably expect CDI to come back dipping into the ACC for sure.
No surprise there. They got a couple, like you said, a couple more names on that list. Jadon, I love. By the way, for you college football fans who don't remember, or like Cal is in the ACC, I'm like, wow,
Yep.
which is pretty exciting, obviously, for both sides there. But
They don't
yeah,
have
the
to play
ACC,
Clemson.
yeah, schedule matters with because you're talking about like game script. You're talking about run defenses, home and away, like other things like that. That all matters, especially for the running back position as well.
Yeah, I will say Cal's schedule is like not. It's not a cakewalk at all. You get Miami, but you get them at home. You got to go to Florida State. You got to go to Auburn, right? You play Oregon State as one of your out of conference games because if you remember, they're actually not in the same conference anymore. Um, and yeah, I mean that's which is I don't know if that's tougher than what it would have been if they were in the Pac-12, but you certainly got some good defenses on that list right there. So and schedule matters when it comes to this big time, right? So I like to think that Jay Knott is a good enough player to overcome some of that.
Yeah, LaQuinn Allen will put him on the top for me was the schedule. I mean, Syracuse, a lot's been made this
It's
offseason. Next
yeah,
season, it's pretty easy.
yeah,
Now you look at, by the way, Ohio as a team, right? Like Syracuse should beat Ohio, okay? But Ohio's a pretty good defense, right? Like they've had some damn good defenses there. But other than Ohio, I mean, NC State and Miami, maybe if they get their act together in the front seven, which I think they will. But yeah, I mean, looking pretty good for obviously LaQuinn Allen.
All right. So I'm gonna go to the Big Ten, and I might shock a couple people here. Um, there's some very clear names I think here at the top, like that are tier one.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't reach into tier two.
I don't think this is tier two, man. And look, last year,
He's not for me. He's not for me.
last year I reached on Damien Martinez, right? Last year I also reached on Devin Neal, right? And we were just drafting one per conference. We didn't have alternates, so I'm like, dude, sometimes you just gotta take your guys. And this is one of my guys. I'm gonna go with Jordan James here from Oregon in the first spot.
Yeah, that's the right pick. I mean he great numbers with Bucky Irving, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Tougher schedule maybe this year, but I mean, yeah, you got to play Ohio State and Michigan. All right, that's not easy. But look, the other 10 games, he can pump out 150 yards for me. I'm happier than a lark. All right, so
Yeah, I mean
let's
they,
ride
they threw
Jordan
the ball a
James.
ton last year, but it was also like the Pac-12, which had like Pac-12 was a very good conference though, but it's different in the Big Ten. Like it's going to be an adjustment. You're going to have to run the football, and Jordan James, in my opinion, is built to do that. I mean, he's over 200 pounds, right? Good runner, good vision. Yeah, that's a great pick for you.
Was he your number one? Was he your number one too?
Yeah, he's my number
Oh,
one.
okay. All right. So I feel better now that I'm not like letting you get your guy.
No, but in terms of like my guy, my like going out on a limb here and picking somebody with less than 500 yards rushing last year, I'm gonna go Caden
You're gonna.
Fegan, Illinois. This kid is a
I,
monster.
I
He
don't
was
hate
a
that
true
actually.
freshman last year. He came in. Remember Chase Brown? Remember Chase Brown a couple years ago? I mean, the upside here is tremendous. Once he took over the starting job, mid-October, he was ripping that thing. I mean, they were looking good offensively.
He is huge. He
He
is a
he's
mammoth.
he is 255 pounds, apparently. And yes, he's been hurt
No,
this offseason.
he looks like it too.
But dude, sometimes, by the way, like an upper body injury, like you could rehab that well as a running back, and you could put on some nice mass in your lower half. Good luck tackling him in October and November. I mean, I just a little bit of risk here because he does have an injury history and he's a young kid, not a ton of production. But I love the game
Well,
script. I love the talents. I love the opportunities in that backfield. Give me that.
I mean, Reggie Love transferred out of there. Like you can't tell me like with the increase in carries that like that Vegan had in November, right? Which by the way, it gets colder up north too. You're telling me a big guy like that's not gonna have a little something to say about that? I mean, a guy like Penny Boone, I mean, he's smaller, but he's big like a bowling ball, tough to tackle. I mean, the success that he had in the cold was uh something that I could definitely see Fegan having. I can tell you once again that I think you could have gotten him in the wild card. That he was
But
not in my tier one.
I do think like, and we talked about it a little bit off air, like the Big Ten has a lot of good running backs, but in terms of fantasy value and like taking guys that like you trust to lead their backfield, have opportunities, like I don't know if the Big Ten had a ton as much as you would have thought coming into this, right? Like I was thinking, oh, you've got the Penn State kids, you've got Darius Taylor, you've got, Wisconsin always got a good Chess Lucy's coming back, the Ohio State twins, right? Like it's, but also like for fantasy wise, like the opportunities. Like it's tough to take a guy like Trayshawn Henderson or Trayvon Henderson when you also have Quinshon Judkins in that backfield and Will Howard stealing goal line carries. Like a lot to think about, especially at the running back position when only one is typically on the field at one time.
Yeah, so I'll give you a list of some D lines that he has to play though. Oregon, right? Michigan, Penn State, Nebraska. Something to be said about some of those D lines that he does have to play though. However, that's just kind of what it is when you're drafting a guy in the Big Ten. Like they're going to be playing against a good defensive line.
Yeah, I do think that I think they're pretty high on their O line this year, right? I think they feel pretty good about that. And Luke Altmaier, another year in that system. He's got to take care of the football, obviously. But I think more so reason to put the ball in Caden Fegan's hands.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that concludes Big Ten. CD, you're up for the Big 12, and I know that there's two guys, well, maybe three guys in tier one, four guys. I could hear the argument, but let's hear who you got for us.
There is a ton of good running backs in this thing, but I just can't pass up Ollie Gordon. I don't think I can. I know it's chalk probably, but they returned 10 starters on offense. He's coming in like last year. He had a monster year once they figured out, and that was he didn't even play the first game, right? Like he didn't. I mean, I know him and Taj Boyd. I know, obviously, didn't get a full 12 game workload of being the starter,
I mean, Taj
whatever. But
Brooks, I think you
Taj
said
Brooks, not Taj Boyd, Taj Brooks. Thank you so much.
different legend.
Taj Taj Boyd still has the greatest video of all time, the interview with the Clemson tutors. But anyways, Ollie Gordon, Heisman season, I believe this year, 10 starters returning. Is it am I gonna regret it? I don't think so, but I do think there are a lot of other names that I was really considering.
Okay, so you're officially going Taj Brooks. Is that what you said?
Ollie Gordon.
Oh,
Ollie Gordon
Ollie
locked
Gordon.
in.
Okay, sorry. Tried to manifest that a little bit.
Just-
No,
is that crazy? Is Ollie Gordon crazy? Or
that
is
was
it
my number one guy. I mean, they turned a ton on the offensive line. I mean, they're gonna come on. Bell cow season. Speaking of bell cow, I'm just gonna go Taj Brooks. You just saw what they started doing when they started getting looks. Um, and also for some, like, I guess I don't know whether this was a coincidence, but as soon as like Baron Morton kind of took over in the back to the quarterback, they started using Taj Brooks more like as a weapon, and he is that weapon. So I like Taj Brooks. There are a lot of good running backs in the Big 12, by the way. Some of them are in committees. Taj Brooks is not in the committee. He's going to be going out there and absolutely plowing kids. He's going to be breaking arm tackles. I like him a lot. I think he was the second highest scorer in the Big 12 last year in terms of fantasy
yeah, he
points.
was. Well,
Oh, no, he wasn't. It was
RJ
actually RJ
Harvey
Harvey.
probably was,
Yeah,
and maybe even Devin Neal.
Taj Brooks was fifth, a close fifth. But also again, not the full workload that you would have liked to see for Taj Brooks. So yeah, I'm confident. I mean, there's like five really good running backs, and the funny thing is that like the top five running backs in terms of fantasy production last year are all back in the Big 12. So definitely a lot of stuff to consider there for sure. So that's our Big 12 right there. So yeah, let us know if you would take some other guys there. I guess I just think those are the top two guys. I'm gonna go over to the SEC and I'm gonna take CJ Baxter. I'm gonna waste no time doing that. No Jonathan Brooks. I do think, Jaden Blue could make his way in there a little bit. However, I think CJ Baxter is a fantastic running back. I think Steve Sarkisian's got to realize this at this point. That offensive line is crazy. You lost a lot of receivers, right? And I think the receiving core is still really good. I just think relying on CJ Baxter and getting that ground game established is going to be so huge. Now they do play Georgia and they do play Michigan, but in terms of SEC schedules, and they also play Texas A&M, it's defensive line, right? But I think it's pretty manageable in terms of like what it could have been in the SEC, right? You're out of conference besides Michigan is UTSA, Colorado State, Louisiana Monroe. I mean, come on. And then in the conference, right? Kentucky, I wouldn't say is a particularly insane defensive line, although they have had games where they've shut people down. Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. You play Oklahoma. We'll see if that defensive line actually improves, but I think there's opportunity for CJ Baxter to kind of do really well. And I'm gonna be pissed if you take my number two guy because I really want to take him in the wild card. I feel like it'd be a mistake if I passed on CJ Baxter, even though I kind of like the upside of my number two guy even more.
Jonathan Brooks was probably on his way to being in New York for the Heisman Trophy until he suffered that injury. Obviously, he still was like one of the top 10 scorers in fantasy in the Big 12 at the running back position. Incredible what he did, and the workload, the O line. Yeah, I think that's the right pick. I am going to take Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee.
Dang it. Dang
I know
it.
how much you do like him, not only as a fantasy guy, but even last year when it had the two other running backs in that
Gosh,
backfield as well with Jalen Wright,
so
Jabari Small.
good.
Samson was that dude, right? He was that dude. 7 touchdowns last year, more than both Wright and Small, but he picks up those 230 carries that are missing from last year's, and now he only had 106 carries. The wear and tear is not there yet on him. I think there's receiving upside. I think the schedule is favorable. The O line's
Yeah.
going to be good. You'll have Nico and I think that offense, everything got put on like up there with what they did. Hendon Hooker passing the football, right? But they want to run the ball and they're going to this year. And Samson to me was by far and away him and Baxter were in tier one, no doubt about it. You have to run him to the board and take him if he's on the board.
Yeah, I thought there's a chance he might get cute there. I mean, I really like the upside of Dylan Sampson more than CJ Baxter, believe it or not. That was a fantastic pick. I thought, like, I knew that if CJ Baxter was there, that you would take him, right?
Yeah,
But so I went on a limb. I was like, I'll take CJ Baxter and see if he tries to
maybe
get
you
cute
get
here in the
Sanders.
SEC, and then I could get Sampson there. But no, that's not what happened. Not what happened.
That's
Well, that leaves you in the Sun Belt now, kicking us off for the G5. What do you got for us? There's a couple good guys, a lot of new faces in the Sun Belt for sure.
God, man, there are a lot of new picks. I mean, we talked about to me, it was an elite year for running backs in the Sun Belt, right? You mentioned two of the top 10 returning rushers are coming back in the Sun Belt. One of them was quarterback Darren Granger, monster for Georgia State. But then you lose guys, Kamani Vidal, Ladarius Webb, Frank Gore Jr., Rasheen Ali, Jacob Kabadi, all playing in the NFL this upcoming season, and Marcus Carroll, Nate Noel, both going to Missouri. And that's a lot to replace. And they got some nice transfers. And I'm going to take one here. I'm going to take Ayo Adeyi from James
Okay.
Madison, formerly from North Texas. I know Ismail Mahdi was there. They got some other studs there as well. But I love the Bob Chesney connection coming in James Madison. They ran the football
Yep.
a ton a year ago. They averaged 264 yards per game. They gained 3,000 yards. I mean, 31 touchdowns on the ground. To me, I think you got to replace your quarterback. You got to do a lot of things for JMU. And I think they're going to run the football in year one in the Sun Belt. And Ayo Adeyu, they went out in the portal and they got him. And they circled him. They took him from North Texas. And I think it's really going to bear a lot of fruit for them and for me this season.
Yeah, it's a great pick. He was up there for me for sure. And I got two guys that actually have tied for number one. So, believe it or not, I'm not taking Ishmael Mahdi here. I'm going to take Kanye Roberts from App State.
Really?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, look,
Let,
without Noel there in the backfield, Kanye Roberts is looking to absolutely explode for the Mountaineers there.
yeah, he's a young kid. Oh, he's a young kid last year, and he put up what 700 yards. Right? Damn
Yeah,
good. And that
he was
offense,
he was he was way better than Nate Noel, by the way. He was way better. He just didn't get the carries, right? I mean, he's averaging almost 6 yards a carry. I mean, he had production out of the backfield receiving. I mean, he on only 137 touches, he produced the same amount of fantasy points as Nate Noel,
yeah,
who had
dude,
almost who had over 50 more touches than Kanye Roberts.
yeah. And you
So
saw him
50
as
less
the year.
touches. It's the same production.
Yeah,
Feed me. Feed me. Also, I like that offense there. I think Kanye Roberts is gonna do really well. I don't think I'm gonna regret not taking Ishmael Mahdi. Uh, I do think there's other running backs here in the Sun Belt that are also really good as well. But I like Kanye Roberts. I'll take him. I would have taken him if I had the number one pick as well. So we both I think would have gotten our guys in this conference.
yeah, and they really started trusting him more as the season went on too. You saw in the
Hmm.
Sun Belt championship or the Sun Belt title game, he had 2 touchdowns, right? Like that was big for them. I know they lost to Troy and whatnot, but yeah, to me that's a really fun one. I think I know, maybe because it doesn't have the returning production as a guy like Mahdi or even Jacquez Clark, or Jacquez Cross. But he can be really, really good for them this year. I like that. I like that. And I think it's you in the American now.
No, it's me in the Mountain West. You trying to be
Ah,
slick. You're trying to be slick. Give me Ashton Janty from Boise State,
it's
obviously.
fun.
I mean, he was one of the, you said, oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine that I
No,
just
no, I'm
got,
kidding.
the
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
second highest scoring running back in fantasy last year. Plus, I know George Alani was out for a lot of last season, but George Alani came back later in the season and snuck a carries away from Ashton Janty. George Alani's no longer there anymore. Feed me Ashton Janty in the Mountain West.
Yeah, I mean, they brought him back for a reason because they wanted to do a lot of things with him, and he's obviously a big part of their offense. Um, what you're bringing over Dirk Cutter coming back to Boise State. That it's gonna be good for Janty, and obviously you got young quarterbacks coming in, like you said. That's the right pick. That's the right pick. I said it's fine because I really do like this next guy, but Janty is the right pick. He would have been my pick for sure at number one.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not, right? So, uh, all right. It's all you in the Mountain West there, guy.
I'm gonna I'm gonna go with Jaden Thomas, UNLV. He had 500 yards
Okay.
last year, 12 touchdowns as a true freshman, and obviously he was behind a guy like Vincent Davis, and I believe he's graduated. Jaden Davis coming in, that offense got to replace Jaden Maeva, right? You bring in quarterback from Holy Cross. I think they're going to run the football. I think he's going to do well in year two. Maybe put on a little bit of weight. 13 touchdowns as a freshman, maybe not replicable in year two, but I do think you have Janty. I gotta play catch up here. I kind of gotta go boomer bust with UNLV or with this running back, and I do think Jaden Thomas out of UNLV can be that guy for me.
Yeah, no, Jaden Thomas is a good pick. I had other guys ranked ahead of him, TBH, but I know what you're trying to do here, and I think that's the right move because I think Ashton Shanty's a for sure kind of boom guy unless something happens, he gets hurt, right?
Yeah,
I do like what you're doing there. I mean, the Mountain West it does have some good running backs. I think I had six guys that I really liked, and then a couple other guys that I like, So
yeah.
I don't hate that for you. Um, but I'm just gonna let you know that in terms of guys that I've gotten, so we've picked from one, two, three, four, five conferences. I've gotten three number ones and two number twos. I guess that kind of makes sense because
Because you just got your number one from the ACC when I took LaQuinn Allen, so
Yeah, basically. Well, I guess Sunbelt, Kanye Roberts is tied for one. I have him listed as my second guy, but
Okay.
whatever. But yeah, so now I'm giving you a chance to get your number one in the American. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, and there's a couple of really good options similar to our quarterbacks just a couple days ago.
Emphasis on a couple, like just a couple. There's
Yeah, there's
only
about there's
a
there's
few.
three. There's three I feel good. And I'm gonna go with a transfer. And I'm gonna go with Mario Anderson from Memphis.
Ooh.
I know it's a little bit, but I do think, first of all, a guy with chip on his shoulder, former D2 walk-on, right, was a finalist for that, basically the D2 Heisman in 2022, comes to South Carolina, right, was their leading rusher last year, joins over with Ryan Silverfield, and look at, by the way, USC, Oklahoma wanted him. Look at these
Wow.
running backs from Memphis: Blake Watson, Tony Pollard, Kenny Gainwell, Antonio Gibson. I think he is next in that lineage of running backs who has put up monster numbers as well. I pair him with the quarterback as well. I believe I got him yesterday.
So I had like three guys that were draftable, I guess, in this conference for what we're draftable for what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Um, he was my number three, so that's really interesting. I think my man that because like I have a number one, but for some reason I don't want to. I don't want to, and I don't think I'm gonna take him. I'm gonna go with Dean Connors out of Rice, believe it or not. And
Wow.
here's why. Look, kind of came late in the scene last year, was fantastic, right? Was fantastic. And here's what I like about him. 43 receptions out of the backfield. Yeah. 400 yards receiving. Yeah. I mean, that's like right along there with like Blake Watson. Like those are Blake Watson type numbers. Dean Connors also averaging over 6 yards a carry. Still has a lot of tread left on those tires. Give me freaking Dean Connors from Rice. Yeah, I know people are shocked of where's Makai Hughes? Why aren't you taking Makai Hughes? I don't know. Maybe that's a wild card spot for one of us, but I'm gonna go with Dean Connors. He's technically my number two in this conference, but I just like the upside better, I guess. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with Dean Connors here.
I mean, he's explosive. I mean, he had what, 250 plus runs, right? 80-yard reception touchdown. I mean, that's upside there. That's absolutely upside for you. I mean, Mekhi Hughes is obviously chalk, but I think there's a lot of question marks there too. I mean, you bring in a bunch of wide receivers. Obviously, that says something about what you want to do offensively, potentially. You bring in a new coach. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not talking down on Mekhi Hughes. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot that goes into this too, and playing your board versus the other person's as well.
Let me add this. Dean Connors had 100 less touches than Makai Hughes last year and had only 9 less fantasy points. Does that does that shift your opinion at all? Like you viewers? Does that shift your opinion? What happens if Dean Connors gets even makes up half of that? Say Dean Connors has 50 more touches. If he has 50 more touches, well, one, that means it's a 33% increase on his touches, which means a 33% increase on his points. That means that he would have been the number two running back in the American after Blake Watson last year. So I'm not saying he's going to have that kind of increase. We'll see what kind of answers they have at quarterback, whether it's Paget or Warner. But um, yeah, I like Dean Connors in this spot. Feed me this guy. So that leads me to go over to the MAC. And believe it or not, this is the conference that I have is actually the deepest in terms of fantasy running back value. Okay. I have like 8 guys that are draftable, believe it or not. But I'm going to go with my number one. And I know that there's some other guys here that can for sure pop off. But I'm going to go with Ontario Brown from Northern Illinois. Okay. He just, he didn't even have all the carries like at the start of the season. And yet he was still the max. I'm pretty sure he was the leading rusher last year in the MAC. Um,
Yes, he was.
yeah, and is he the only
Actually, no, I'm
guy
sorry.
that
Penny Boone. Penny Boone was.
Penny Boone's the leading rusher? Well, Penny Boone's not back. Bummer. So Ontario Brown, with the volume that he had, finding the end zone, he's averaging like 6 yards a carry. I like his schedule. Feed me Ontario Brown. He's only one of three returning rushers from the MAC last year, with 1,000 yards from last year. So if you're looking at just returning running backs, he leads all returning running backs in the MAC in rushing yards. So
Yeah, dude. I mean, he was right there in that tier one with me. I'm gonna go another guy who also is a returner, who also rushed for 100 yards, or I'm sorry, 1,000 yards. His redshirt
Okay.
freshman, the MAC freshman of the year, just a year ago,
Okay.
Jalen Buckley out of Western Michigan. I mean, this guy I think only gonna get better in heading technically year two, year three. Kid from Aurora, Illinois, obviously a hometown kid. We love that. But yeah, Buckley, I think that offense was just super, super impressive what they did last year. And by the way, that I mean, they kind of always produce pretty good running backs in that system. And yeah, I mean, I just feel pretty darn good about him at least keeping up with a guy like Antonio Brown for sure.
Yeah, no, I like that pick. He was tied for my number two. Okay, so that's not a bad pick at all. Oh, so now we're headed to the CUSA. I have a feeling I know exactly what you're going to be doing here. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
I
rip
mean,
off the Band-Aid.
you got Caden Salter. I'll take Quentin Cooley out of Liberty again. Electric offense. Got to give credit where credit's due. The guy put up crazy numbers, and they're gonna do it again this year. In the CUSA with that offense. Feel pretty good about it. I can't pass him up and let you get him. Now his counterpart, his quarterback, was the only other 1,000 yard rusher in this USA just a year ago. But yeah, he's gonna have a good year. 221 attempts last year, 16 touchdowns. I love it. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, he's the obvious he's the obvious guy, right? He's the obvious guy. He is a stud. He will get his carries. He has an insanely favorable schedule. Like this is a guy that you can chalk up as kind of a lock to be really good for you on your team.
Yeah.
Um, Fortunately, I'm gonna be taking a shot here, like big time, at the running back position, and I'm doing this because the CUSA to me has them in the American kind of the least amount of running backs in terms of having value. So like, I don't know how much better some of these other running backs are going to be than this guy that I'm ready to take a shot on. So here it goes. From Jacksonville State, I'm going to be taking Andrew Paul. Okay. And the reason why he is such a sleeper is because if you are a Georgia fan and you remember Andrew Paul creeping up on Kenny McIntosh on the roster a couple years back, well, he transferred out there because he tore his ACL and he also tore his ACL in high school. So he's torn his ACL twice. That's why this is a huge risky play. However, Jacksonville State loves running the ball. We saw Malik Jackson have a lot of success last year. Malik Jackson is gone. That means that there are plenty of carries to be had around in this running back room. And I think if Andrew Paul comes to the top, he's so talented. He's so talented that he could just take the CUSA by storm. And in best ball, right, when we got only 10 of our 13 guys have to have meaningful stats, I'm willing to take a shot on Andrew Paul here in the CUSA.
Damn, I really like that. That would not have been that I really like that. That would not have been even the Jacksonville State running back I would have taken, right? But I
Yeah.
I
So
think
I
that's
was the reason I was okay with because I wasn't going to waste a wild card spot on Andrew Paul. The reason why I wanted to go second, right, was because so I could get Ashton Gianti, right, in the Mountain West and Antario Brown in the MAC. And then I also looked at the CUSA and was like, okay, I'm not getting Quentin Cooley, but low key, like
upside guy.
I'm not gonna waste a wild card spot on Andrew Paul, but I would waste my CUSA running back spot if I didn't get Quentin Cooley. So that was part of my
Wow.
plan that unfolded there, believe it or not.
That's really nice. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think I don't think that's crazy at all.
Yeah, so kind of boomer bust right there. If he busts, oh well, hopefully 10 other guys can pop off for me this year. So
Yeah.
now we're gonna move into the wild cards right now. And this is where the money I think is gonna be made in the draft because there are so many running backs left on the board. So many. It honestly we might not overlap a lot on our picks here, but I think this is going to make or break our drafts. Let's see what you got. You're going to lead us off in the wild card here.
It's actually your
Oh
pick.
no, it's me.
I went
Me leading off.
first, which is
Right.
massive. Yeah, yeah, you get to go.
Okay. Um, I think I know who you're going to take, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take a guy that I'll save him for later. Oh, do I want to take him now? No, I don't think you'll take him. All right, I'm gonna go back to the Big Ten. I'm gonna take Cal Monangai from Rutgers, and
I
I
gave you
think that's
snaps for that.
I just think that's a solid pick. I think he's gonna get plenty of touches. Um, and in an offense where he had a lot of success last year, I think he's one of the better running backs in the entire country. And if you're gonna give me him in the wild card, I'm just gonna get safe here, right? I already took a shot on Andrew Paul. I think Kyle Monangai is a really safe, solid pick here to start off the wild card round. I don't think I stole him from you necessarily. I think you might have gone his direction late in the wild card, but I think that's just a solid pick. I have a feeling who you're gonna take now, but I'm not worried. So
He was one of the three running backs I had. I felt okay about taking in the Big Ten. And I mean, Gavin Wimsatt stole a ton of TDs from last year, and
yeah,
he's out. Ethan Kaliakmanis is in. You gotta love that for the goal line touches. Now, do you get to the goal line? Maybe not with Ethan in there, but regardless, though, between the 20s, he'll do a lot of damage. So that leaves me on the board, and I was expecting one of these guys to be gone, but they're both there. Um, so I'm just gonna take the guy I probably should have taken number one overall. At least I thought. I'm gonna go with Marion Hampton out of
yep.
UNC. I mean, he put up monster numbers last year. He had 253 rushing attempts with Drake May. Chip Lindsey returns with him. I mean, yes, their O line. I don't love their O line and their schedule is whatever, but I just think again, safe. If he's healthy, he's gonna put up monster numbers. And I think with a couple other my wild card picks, I don't know if they'll be healthy, but I think we'll see. So that's how I went a little safe and but also high upside with Amar and Hampton.
Yeah, I like that. I I was gonna stay away from him. Um, I don't know what it's gonna look like without Drake May. You know, not that that should have a huge impact on the running back, but I think when a quarterback is so elite, I think it can impact a running back in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think he'll be good for you though. That's like a good pick. You know, he literally 268 fantasy points last year. It was crazy. 1,500 rushing yards, 222 receiving yards. He touched the ball almost 300 times last year with 16 touchdowns. I mean, that's a good pick, and I knew that you were going to take him. That's why, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried. So now the question is, who would I want now? And I think it's going to go. I think it's going to go to Phil Maffa from Clemson. Um,
Ooh.
yeah. So
Okay.
I'm just so high on him, dude. I'm just so high on him. I think he's so good. He was my number two running back in the ACC behind Jay Knott. Yeah, I mean, he averaged almost 5.5 yards per carry last year. He scored 13 touchdowns. He was playing behind Will Shipley, right? He had almost 1,000 yards rushing, playing behind Will Shipley, right? And he
Yeah.
already had over 200 touches. Wait, actually, I think 200 on the dot. 200 touches playing behind Will Shipley. What's that going to look like without Will Shipley there, right? We know that that passing attack has had its struggles, okay? And we know that that offense has been at its best when Will Shipley has been at his best. Phil Maffa might be better than Will Shipley as like a pure runner. You know, Will Shipley is a more dynamic athlete, right? Really good out of the backfield. But Phil Maffa still had 21 catches last year for 100 yards. So like, I'm all right taking Phil Maffa in this spot. If he can finish top three in the ACC for me, I think it will not have been a wasted pick.
No, I think that's pretty impressive. I think it says a lot about the ACC in general. I mean, we got four of them off the board already, and you could add a couple more. You could argue guys like Jamal Haynes, Jacquez Moore for sure would have been picked. Or, well, maybe potentially would have been picked before a guy like Star Thomas transfers over to Duke. FSU's got a couple good running backs as well. Yeah, it's a pretty deep room there in the ACC running back room. And that leaves me with again a little bit more options than I was thinking. I was a little bit lower on Phil Maffa just because I don't know how that O line is gonna look, and I do think they're pretty high in their wide receivers, and I wonder if they're gonna try to use those guys and look like maybe the Clemson of old. Phew. What do we do here? I'm staring at two G5 guys right now, and
Ooh, I think I
I
know
mean,
exactly which one. Is this totally chalk right here?
yeah, probably. I mean, I don't
I
know
like it.
how he's still on the board. Yeah, I have to go Ismail Mahdi. Pair him up
Yep.
with Jordan McLeod. I
Yep.
mean, 1,300 yards last year, 20 receptions, 11 total touchdowns. And that offense, I just believe it's going to be explosive. And again, even with GJ King, I think it's going to be even more explosive potentially this year. So I love it. I feel pretty good walking away with both the QB and the running back out of the Texas State Bobcat backfield.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I thought about taking him instead of Phil Mafah. Probably could have, but why? I don't know. I like him a lot. I like him a lot. I think he's good. Just, I don't know. I don't know. He had like 250 touches last year. He's a little older. Or no, wait. Was he a sophomore last year?
He was a sophomore last year. Yeah.
Sophomore. He's yeah, junior. I don't know. I think he's good. Now I have an interesting decision because boy, do I want to take a shot. But I think you've done really
Mm,
nice. I
okay.
I I
Let's
really
see it.
like I really like I think I'm gonna save my shot for last. Oh, I think I'm gonna like be so pissed. Man, I
Here's what
just
not to take your pick for you, but I do want to say this is there's a lot of good. I'm more talking to our audience here. There's a lot of good running backs still left on the board, and if you want to take a shot guy, an upside pick, I think your floor guys are still available. There's a couple of them that'll be there for you, but I guess that's just what I'm thinking out loud. Don't want to say anything for you, but that's how I'm saying it. Because I mean, just it's the year of the running backs. It's literally the year of the running backs.
no, it is. Absolutely. Um, man, I think it's too much of a shot. I'd rather just like get another good player and just like know that he's gonna be solid and have a good year. I think it's gonna be well, which one do I want? It's eeny, meeny, miny, right? I guess right here. I'm not taking a shot with this one, by the way. This is kind of chalkish. Um, but I think I'm gonna go DJ Giddens here from Kansas State. Um, just a good
Ooh,
player.
this
He split carries last year. Um, he's back this year. Fantastic football player. If you had him in college fantasy football last year, you loved him because there were a couple weeks where he had like literally like 60 fantasy points. And you're like, holy cow, who is this guy? Well, it's DJ Giddens. He's the fourth highest fantasy scorer last season. He averaged 5.5 yards, or sorry, in the Big 12 in terms of running backs. 5.5 yards per carry. But Trayshawn Ward stole 125 carries from him. So like, what happens when DJ Giddens gets a couple of those back? Um, I know that offensive line is going to be looking a little bit different there, but I don't know. PG Penny Boone kind of scared me off of RJ Harvey a little bit. So people are like, "Oh, why don't you take RJ Harvey?" I think Penny Boone kind of scared me off a little bit. Goal line Reaper, the Grim Reaper. DJ Gins, I don't think is getting his goal line carries touted or touched. So
no, I mean maybe potentially a guy like Avery Johnson could steal carries. You also have Dylan Edwards there to steal a little bit of snaps on third down. But no, I don't hate that. I am gonna take a reach here, okay? Because I feel pretty
okay.
good about my team. And it's more an injury-based reach, not on a talent or opportunity-based reach. All right, and I'm turning my head to the SEC, and I'm gonna go Jaquindon Jackson out of Arkansas.
Wow. Okay. I like that
This
pick.
guy, unbelievable, unbelievable athlete. He's done it all in college. He started at Texas, right? Ended up at Utah. He is incredible. He's a guy we were super high on just, last offseason. Couldn't quite stay healthy. Nobody in that team could. I think the opportunity is there. With Taylor Green, I don't know how good he's going to be pushing the ball down the field. You're going to need to run the football. And while Taylor Green will get his, I think Jaquindon Jackson, I mean, you saw what Raheem Sanders has done in that offense when healthy. Gosh, Jaquindon Jackson just really excites me. If he puts it all together, he stays healthy. I mean, he could do some real damage there. Receiving, rushing, everything, all in between.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Uh, I had him tied for my third running back in the SEC. Tied for third, believe it or not. I don't think you'd be able to guess who my number third running back is, but it's certainly an interesting one. So that leaves me. It's shot time. Couple dribbles, ready to make a splash. I'm gonna head back to the CUSA, believe it or not.
No, don't do it. Not
I don't know.
again.
I don't think I'm taking your guy. I don't think I'm taking your guy. I think I know who
Let's
you're looking at, but I'm gonna go with the guy who has never played Division 1 football.
no,
Give me Javon Jackson
no, you
for
cannot.
UTEP. Yep, absolutely. I'm gonna be absolutely doing that.
Oh,
I'm gonna be absolutely doing that. Look, you get a new coach in there, and what do we love about this new coach, Christopher, at UTEP?
I mean, offense, offense, offense. By the way, they're coming together. They're both coming from Austin P.
Oh,
Are
oh
you kidding
yeah.
me, Scotty Waldron? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and guess what?
Oh,
So Javon Jackson at Austin P had 252 attempts for 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns. Yeah, good football player. Or sorry, 1,373 yards. Yeah, so 1,400 yards. He's a monster. He averaged over 100 yards per game. Uh, Scotty Walden loves running the football. I don't think UTEP's offensive line is the worst thing ever. Last year, I think they thought it was going to be better than it was. And Deion Hankins, is a very different player than Javon Jackson. But let me tell you, I like him. He's 5'8", 200. I love that build. You know why? Because he's slipping through that offensive line. He's slipping through tackles. He's pretty fast. Average 5.5 yards per carry. Now that was 5.5 yards per carry at the Division 2 level, right? Austin Peay is D2, right?
yeah. No,
It might be
FCS.
D3, FCS. I don't know. Either way, yeah, I'm gonna take Javon Jackson. No way that was your guy too.
That was my pick. I mean,
No
I
way.
I love him so
That's
much.
crazy.
I thought I could
So
steal him with the 14th pick, and that's twice now. You took Chandler Morris last time, and now you got Javon Jackson.
wow,
Yeah,
I
dude.
I feel awesome because now you're in a panic because now you're backpedaling and now you're like, well, now who do I take?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I should have taken him before Jaquin and Jackson because, to be honest, I feel better about Javon Jackson than Jaquin and Jackson. Just about injuries and competition and all that stuff, game script. I mean, I think I kind of have to go chalk here. I don't know if I'm gonna regret it, but the only way to rebound here is I guess I'll feel good about walking away with the leading rusher in the American and Mekhi Hughes. I
that's a
mean,
good pick.
yeah, we talked about him earlier. We're like, why didn't he go? I mean, as a freshman, he averaged 5.3 yards per carry, 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, and they lose the quarterback, new coach. But the only thing that gives me a lot of faith about this is you're bringing in Ty Thompson to be with Kai Horton, right? Like you're gonna figure it out. You got Shady Clayton Johnson there, maybe as a goal line type of kid, but Mekhi Hughes, and look at the volume, the pure volume that Kamani Vidal got under John Sumrall. I know he's a defensive guy, but he's part of that game script and how they want to attack the opposing, field, the team. And Vidal got a ton of carries. And I think Mekhi Hughes, a guy that they worked really hard to keep at Tulane, similar to Ashton Janty, like he's gonna be a guy I think they're gonna put a lot on his shoulders. And if he can stay healthy, he's gonna put up monster numbers. And I guess I feel pretty good about that.
Alrighty. So to recap, my team consists of Jade Knott from California, Jordan James from Oregon, Taj Brooks from Texas Tech, CJ Baxter from Texas, Kanye Roberts from App State, Ashton Janty from Boise State, Dean Connors from Rice, Ontario Brown from Northern Illinois, Andrew Paul from Jacksonville State, Kyle Benangai from Rutgers, Phil Moffitt from Clemson, DJ Giddens from Kansas State, and Javon Jackson from UTEP. CD's list consists of LaQuint Allen from Syracuse, Caden Fegan from Illinois, Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State, Jaquin Jackson from, I was about to say Utah. He's at Arkansas now, right?
Yep.
Ayo Adei from James Madison by means of North Texas. Jaden Thomas over at UNLV. Uh, Mario Anderson. Wait, why did I just forget where Mario Anderson's at?
He's at Memphis. Sorry.
Memphis. That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, sorry. You got that. Yep. Thank you for the save. Jalen Buckley from Western Michigan, Quentin Cooley from Liberty, Marion Hampton from North Carolina, Ishmael Mahdi from Texas State, Jaquindon. Oh wait, I just put Jaquindon Jackson twice. Dylan Sampson. I meant to put in the SEC spot there. From Tennessee, Makai Hughes from Tulane. So that's
Not
going to
bad.
conclude our running back draft for 2024. Good luck to both of us, I guess. May the best man win. I mean, he did last year, so it is what it is. But thank you guys so much for the support. If you guys like this content, please like the video. It's a simple rule we have here. Like the video because you like the content, right? Also make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. Join us for this upcoming season and off season, right? Got to be ready. Got to know what to talk about when you're hitting the water cooler, right? After the games, after the weekend, before the season's even most important because you're going to be making your big time predictions and you're going to be listening to what we're here and saying over here and you're going to gain some knowledge. And I hope that you guys can be with us through that entire journey. So thank you all again. CD, you got anything for us on the way out?
No, if you guys are still watching, you guys are the best. Like Matthew said, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hope you enjoy the content. Let us know in the comments or email, all that good stuff. We love hearing from you guys. How you think we did today? Who won? Who would you have taken? All that, everything in between as well.
Actually, real quick before we get out of here, name three guys that were next three on your list that
I was gonna
you
say
didn't get
I
to
did
take.
kind of want to do that. Here's an upside guy, Hunter Smith from
Okay.
ULM with Brian Vincent. I mean,
Wow.
he did great things with Ja'Cory Crossett Merritt at New Mexico. They
Oh
run the
yeah.
football well. He would have been a guy that an upside pick that I for sure would have thought about taking.
Surprised you didn't take him. I feel like
One
you're
more, or two more. I'll go. Terrion Stewart, Bowling Green,
yep.
6 yards per carry,
I
super
was
creative offense,
I was
upside.
this
Yep.
close. I was this close taking him.
It was between him and Jalen Buckley, but Buckley for my Mac once you went with Antario Brown.
Well,
And then I'll go
also
one more. Yes, for three. I mean, anyone in the Big 12 would have been fine with Jamal Haynes, Georgia Tech. But I probably would have gone with just an upside Raheem Sanders. I mean, I still believe in him. Him and Lenore Sellers. Yeah.
yeah, I despite what you think, I was close to taking Darius Taylor. At some point in that wild card round for sure. I was close to taking RJ Harvey. And then my last one, I'll give two. Jeremiah Love was on my list. I don't know if he was on your list at all.
From
Uh,
Notre Dame. Oh, as a wild
from
card.
as a
Oh
wild
yeah.
card, yeah, because I
Didn't even
can't
think
take
about
him
him.
because conferences. And then uh, was it Tuden from Virginia Tech? I think it's Tuden.
Yep.
Uh, just I mean, easy schedule, has a huge opportunity to pop off. So he was on my list. He was my number. He was actually I had him ranked ahead of Marion Hampton, believe it or not, on my guys to take. So
Yeah, I
uh,
don't think that's crazy. I
yeah,
mean,
but guys not taken either. Donovan Edwards was not taken. Damian Martinez was not taken. No Devin Neal, Abu Sama, uh, Malik Sherrod. You know who I had as my number three SEC guy? Chip Trayanum.
Justice Haynes
Ooh,
from
Chip.
Kentucky.
Yeah. Who
I
else is
know
in that
Ray Davis
backfield?
did well. Yeah, but I don't know, man. I would have taken Montrell Johnson before I'd take Chip Trayanum.
Really? Okay. I had him high too. I had him high
I mean,
too.
three straight 800-yard years. I mean, it's pretty impressive in the SEC. No more ETN in that backfield. By the way, I mean, we all took a what kept away from Georgia's backfield, Ohio State's backfield, Penn State's
Yeah.
backfield. I mean,
Ole
a lot of these
Miss,
teams with Ole Miss, yeah,
West
pretty
Virginia's backfield.
oh yeah, Alabama's as
Wisconsin,
well.
Penn
Yep.
State was not on the list either.
Missouri got
Um,
two transfers coming in. A
yeah,
lot of good. I mean,
Miami.
there's so many good running backs in this at Florida State. So many good running backs in this upcoming season. We lose a ton of quarterbacks, but for you running game folks, you diehards, you crazy nut jobs, you're gonna love this year. You're gonna love this year.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see y'all in the next one.